Hi guys, hope you're doing well. Just want to share with you that if you've experienced psychosis or schizophrenia or been given any of these labels, that it's definitely not the end of the world. I can share my experience, and if you can relate, perhaps you can relate to some of it. Um, I can only speak from my own experience, really. Like some people say that there is different types of psychosis and schizophrenia. There's all different types of variations, like spiritual psychosis, and have been heard of. But I don't know if it's all the one. To be honest, perfectly honest, I don't know. But I can speak from my own experience, and perhaps you can relate to it. So I had my first labelled psychotic experience at the age of 18. I know now from all the spiritual studies I have done that these are Kundalini awakenings. My chakras were very much online, and it was energy moving strongly through my body. It was quite a spiritual experience, and it was definitely an awakening. My first experience of many throughout the years. I just want to say that these experiences don't have to be scary. I know they can be seen as emergencies and crisis and all that kind of stuff, and perhaps they are spiritual crisis, in fact. But I think often the medical profession can label them as an illness when it doesn't have to be that way, when we can use these experiences to our benefit. They bring up so many traumas that need to be looked at, that must be looked at, that are screaming to be looked at. And we can do this work not only at the times of the crisis, but throughout our lives. It is highly important. I believe we're on a spiritual healing path when we experience these things, and we are evolved souls, highly evolved spiritual souls, spiritual beings on a spiritual path. When we have these experiences, they're not easy. They're not easy, especially when people around us don't understand what's going on and react in negative ways, I suppose. And I know it can look messy to the outside world, but really it's a positive thing in the bigger picture. It really is. I know that there were Kundalini awakenings for me, as I've said, and I see them as breakthroughs as opposed to breakdowns now, after I've done a lot of work on my beliefs and reframing these experiences, and having grown so much as a person and evolved so much, and being on the spiritual path for over 20 years. Some psychiatrists say that they see people deteriorating the more of these episodes they have. That is certainly not true for me. Not in any way, shape or form. It is not true for me that I have deteriorated from these experiences. In fact, I'm thriving more and more throughout my life because I've continued to do the deep inner work, the deep inner spiritual work on myself. I went to college a couple of years ago and got a level 8 in peer support and mental health. I'm quite fit. I run quite a bit, and I do yoga every day. I see my intelligence as opening up more and more all the time, and certainly not deteriorating in any way. I'm more confident than I've ever had. I've done a lot of work on self-esteem and confidence and all that kind of stuff. And I know I'm developing more and more as a person. I'm becoming more and more happy and more aligned in myself, not the opposite, as is often told by psychiatrists, the story that we hear. It doesn't have to be that way. I'm telling you all this to give you hope, because I believe it's the more evolved souls that have these experiences, and I know I'm not the only one with this insight. Onlookers, spiritual friends have said this to me as they've observed me at these times. They are breakthroughs, not breakdowns. So I wish you well. If you have anything to say in the comments, I'd love to hear what you have to share. Okay, lots of love. Take care.